recording for TTN-HD production live here at Raindance Toronto with Brad Fraser. What inspired you to get into playwriting?
Well, I had not been to much theater till I was in high school, and I went and saw a show a friend of mine was in, and it blew me away so much. I went, what am I doing wasting my time in the academic world? And immediately transferred to a performing arts high school and started really writing and working then. I won my first playwriting competition when I was 17 and haven't really looked back.
How did it feel to be nominated for a Governor General Award for Poor Superman?
It felt good. I mean, it's always good to be nominated for awards. I've won many awards in my career, but I always feel like in the arts it's a bit of a competition of one person against another, and I don't really appreciate them all that much. I don't actually go to award shows anymore. I stopped some years ago, but of course it's always nice to be nominated and even nicer to win.
What's the most rewarding part of your career?
Well, the money when you make it is very nice. But I have to say, you know, I get great reward from writing on my own and thinking about what I'm doing and working alone. But then when I go into a rehearsal hall or when I go into a studio to shoot something and you're working with the actors and the director, that's equally satisfying. So I would have to say probably the creative part is the most interesting part to me. Once it's up and running, if the movie opens, the TV show's on, the play's running, I don't really care anymore. Once the creative part is over, I'm done and I move on.
What are the main differences between writing for theater and writing for television or film? Do you have a different process, or do you find it to be the same?
No, they're very different mediums, and I find when I think of a project, I start out by thinking, okay, so which medium am I going to write this for? Is this a theater kind of thing? Is it a film thing? Or is it a TV thing? Because they're all very different, and often I have trouble, as do many people, transferring from one to another. Plays quite often, for example, don't make really great movies because they're written as plays and they're written for a different medium. So it depends on the story I'm trying to tell and the way I want to tell it, and that's how I decide when I'm going to which medium I'm going to write it for. And I mean, the thing about stage is that you can do literally anything because it is a medium of the imagination, and people will do some of the work, whereas in film and TV, they kind of want everything laid out there for them, and their imagination isn't as engaged quite as much. So I have to say, engaging the audience's imagination and making them do some work brings them into the process a little more. So on that level, I would have to say theater is my favorite.
What have been the biggest challenges writing for film and television?
Well, television can be, you know, I was lucky. I worked on Queer as Folk for 3 seasons, and it was a cable show, and the only notes we ever really got was, could you give the lesbians more sex, which was a great way to work. And if anyone's worked in TV, you know that doesn't happen all that often. If you're working for the network or whatever, you get a lot more notes than that, and sometimes it can feel like the producers are writing the project and you're actually just kind of channeling whatever it is they want to do. So that can be problematic, but they all have their challenges. Again, I'm a creature of the theater. I came out of the theater, I started in the theater, and in the end I think that's where I'm probably the most comfortable.
What are your goals for the future?
To continue making a living. It gets harder and harder the older you get in this business, and you know, it's one thing to be the hot 35-year-old who's out there and everybody wants your work, but then when you're over 50, sometimes they're not quite so eager. Everyone's looking for that new kid, the new person on the block. So in order to keep yourself fresh and vital, I think, you know, artists really have to go out into the world and continue to be inspired, continue to meet with people and to do things that give them ideas and keep them moving forward. And that can be hard to do the more successful you get as well. So for me, it's really about staying in touch with the world out there and knowing what's going on and not being cut off from it.
What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out as a writer?
Don't write for approval. A lot of people write and they want someone to like it, they want someone to give them the chance to do it, but really I think the best writing that comes out, and the stuff that does get produced and does get made, is from people who say, I don't care if other people are going to like this or not, I have to tell this story. This story is inside of me and it's burning to get out, it's really important, and therefore I'm going to do it. So don't write for approval, write for yourself and write for what you believe in and for what you want to communicate and to, you know, put out there for other people to see.
And have you ever had a life-changing experience in the theater? Has anything mystical ever happened?
Well, I mean, the theater is full of mysticism. If you work in the theater, you realize it's all about magic and it's all about creating things out of nothing. But I wrote a play in the mid-90s called Poor Superman, which was dedicated to all my friends who had died of AIDS. And we were reading it the very first time at Can Stage here in Toronto, and we were in this big rehearsal hall that they rarely ever used, and it had these big barn doors at the back that were always locked and closed. And we'd gotten to the point in the play where the main character starts reciting the name of all the people he knows who have died of AIDS. And as he was doing this, we were sitting in the audience, and this weird sort of optical thing started to happen at the back of the stage where there was this black spot, and it got wider and wider and wider, and we're all going, what the hell is that? The actors are reading, they have no idea what's going on, and we realized the barn doors at the back of the room were slowly opening onto the street outside, and there was a storm going on, and it was raining, and this wind was coming in, and all of a sudden the stage manager got up and went, I don't know why that happened, those doors are locked, they're always locked, and she grabbed them and she pulled them closed and locked them again. And I thought, it's one thing to bring an audience of living people into the theater, but I really felt like what had happened there was the people that I know who had died of AIDS came to see the show, and that those doors opening magically at that point in the play were an indication that they were all there with me, and I had their approval for writing this play, and it was really a very emotional, very magical experience.
And where's the best place to find out more information on you and on all of your projects online?
Well, you can go to bradfraser.net, although it's hopelessly out of date, but will be updated someday soon. Or you can find me on Facebook. I've got a great many followers, and I've got a lot going on Facebook. I have a very interesting page. There's a lot of lively discussion. There's a lot of anger and passion, and a lot of fun. So check me out on Facebook is probably the best way to get hold of me.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, and congratulations on all of your success, and best of luck with your upcoming projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for TTN-HD Production Live here at Raindance, Toronto.